The hotel lobby stretched before me, a cathedral of wealth and whispers. Chandeliers dripped light onto the marble floor, their gleam bouncing off polished surfaces. I adjusted the strap of my purse, the gift bag swinging lightly in my other hand. My heels clicked against the stone, a nervous rhythm I couldn't shake. March 21st, 2025, Chicago dressed in its evening best, and I'd come for Avery's wedding. My sister, my blood. The air buzzed with the faint hum of a string quartet, seeping through the ballroom doors like a promise I wasn't sure I'd get to keep. I stepped up to the reception desk, offering a small smile. The woman behind it, blonde, young, her hair straightened to a razor's edge, glanced up, her practiced politeness in place. "Name?" she asked, fingers poised over a tablet. "Ella Hughes," I said, voice steady despite the flutter in my chest. She tapped the screen, her brow creasing slightly. Then she looked at me, and the words came, quick and brutal. "I'm sorry, but your name isn't on the guest list." The air vanished. My breath locked in my throat, a knot I couldn't swallow. This can't be real. The word slammed into me, a slap I didn't see coming. "That must be a mistake," I said, forcing the calm to stay, though my fingers tightened around the bag. "The bride's my sister, Avery Hughes." Her eyes flickered, pity, sharp and sour, like cheap perfume wafting off her. I hated it. She hesitated, her hand hovering, then tapped again, slower this time. "Could you check again?" I pressed, my voice still even. But inside something twisted, raw and jagged. She skimmed the list, her lips parting as if to speak, then closing again. The seconds dragged, unbearable. The clink of glasses and soft laughter floated in from behind me, a world I was suddenly outside of. Then her expression shifted, apology, dread, a look I'd seen before bad news. She leaned closer, voice dropping to a whisper. "It wasn't a mistake. Your mother, Lydia Hughes, requested you not be admitted." My heartbeat thundered, drowning the music. "Lydia requested..." The words echoed, hollow and cruel. I stared at her, the room tilting just enough to unsteady me. "I'm sorry, what?" I managed, my grip on the bag whitening my knuckles. She glanced around, nervous now, her hushed tone barely audible. "Mrs. Hughes told the staff you weren't to be let in, under any circumstances. I'm so sorry, I know this must be..." "Awkward?" I cut in, the word bitter on my tongue. She flinched, but I didn't care. Awkward didn't touch it. My own mother, Lydia, 58 and pristine as ever, had carved me out of my sister's wedding, out of our family. The sting burned deep, a wound I couldn't name yet. I stood there a moment longer, the lobby's glow pressing against me, heavy with eyes I didn't want to meet. My pulse roared, but I wouldn't let it show. I won't crumble. Not for them to gawk at. Slowly, I turned to the counter, the gift bag still in my hand. A blanket I stitched for Avery, 28, white with blue flowers. 2 months of quiet nights poured into it. A piece of me she'd never know she had. I set it down gently, the ribbon brushing my fingers. "Give this to the bride," I said. My voice clipped. Final. The receptionist nodded, her curiosity thinly veiled, but I didn't give her more. I adjusted my purse strap and walked toward the glass doors, heels striking the marble like a metronome of resolve. Whispers trailed me, soft, sharp, the kind that prick your skin. I felt them watching, waiting for me to break, to turn back and demand answers. But I wouldn't. If they don't want me, I won't beg. The doors slid open and the night hit me, cold and raw. The wind clawed my face, slicing through the haze in my head. Chicago hummed outside, headlights slashing across the glass, tires hissing on wet pavement. Laughter drifted down from a rooftop bar, sharp and taunting, a celebration I'd never touch. I stopped at the curb, hands trembling just enough to notice. I shoved them into my pockets, forcing my breath to steady. Lydia's voice echoed in my skull. "You're too serious, Ella. Too inconvenient." She'd said it before, 1,000 times, but this was a blade she'd honed for years. My sister's wedding, and I was nothing. Erased. I glanced back at the hotel, its lights mocking me through the glass. Defiance flickered awake, small but alive. They don't get to decide what I am. I lifted my chin, stepped forward, and hailed a cab. The night swallowed me whole, but I wasn't done yet. The cab dropped me at my apartment, a squat brick building dwarfed by Chicago's skyline. Inside, the air hung stale, heavy with the silence of a life I'd let shrink. Midnight crept closer, the clock's soft tick mocking my racing pulse. I kicked off my heels, the cold floor biting my feet, and moved to the bookshelf. My fingers brushed old medical textbooks, relics of a nursing career I'd clung to, until they found it. A wooden box, small and unassuming, tucked behind half-read novels. I pulled it down, the weight settling in my hands like a confession waiting to spill. I set it on the kitchen table, the single lamp casting a flickering glow across the scratched wood. The lid creaked open, revealing a tangle of papers. Receipts, bank statements, checks I'd written for Avery's law school, her rent, her textbooks. Years of my savings poured into her future while mine stalled. The screen's glare burned my eyes as I opened my laptop, each click deliberate, fueled by a fury I couldn't name yet. I started with the bank records, scrolling through transactions I'd never questioned until a line stopped me cold. A life insurance payout, my father's last gift to me, redirected 3 years ago, signed over to Lydia Hughes. My breath hitched, sharp and shallow. She took it. Dad's last piece of me, swallowed by her. The numbers stared back, unblinking. $50,000, meant for me after his cancer, ate him alive, now nestled in Lydia's account. I'd been 29 then, drowning in hospital shifts to pay his bills, while she'd played the grieving widow, pristine in black cashmere. My jaw clenched so hard, it ached. I dug deeper, pulling up statements from Avery's tuition fund, money I'd contributed, drained without a trace. Every sacrifice I'd made, every night I'd skipped sleep to stitch that damn blanket, she'd turned into nothing. The papers crackled like brittle bones under my grip, each one a thread in a web I hadn't seen. Lydia, 58, hadn't just excluded me from the wedding. She'd spent years erasing me piece by piece. My chest tightened, a fire spreading where numbness had been. She stole more than money. She stole my choices, my future. I leaned back, the chair creaking under me, and stared at the ceiling. The city droned outside, a low hum that matched the rage building in my veins. This wasn't oversight. This was theft, deliberate and cruel. I wasn't done digging, not by a long shot. Dawn bled through the blinds, a faint gray washing over the mess on my table. Coffee sat untouched, cold in its mug, the bitter scent mingling with the dust I'd let settle too long. My eyes burned, but I couldn't stop. The laptop glowed, a lifeline to answers I hadn't known I needed. I pulled my phone from my purse, its screen lighting up with a hollow promise. I scrolled through old texts to Avery, 28 messages I'd sent over years, thinking she was too busy to reply. "Hey, sent you a birthday gift. Let me know if it arrived. Read, no response. Hope the bar exam went well. Proud of you. Undelivered." The phone weighed like lead in my hand, a tomb of lies I'd believed. My thumb hovered, then tapped further back. "Thinking of you today? Let's catch up. Read at 9:43 p.m. 3 years ago, silence after." I'd told myself she was swamped. Law school, her perfect life, the golden daughter Lydia had sculpted. But now, each unanswered word cut deeper, a pattern I couldn't unsee. I switched to emails, old threads with Lydia from when she'd still bothered pretending I mattered. One caught my eye, sent after Dad's funeral. "Ella, we'll sort the insurance soon. Focus on yourself." A lie, casual and smooth, while she'd already rerouted the money. My breath caught, ragged and quick. I wasn't lost. I was scrubbed out. Lydia's hand had been there, intercepting every message, every chance to stay connected. She'd filtered me from Avery's life, made me a ghost, while I'd poured myself into their survival. The apartment felt smaller, the walls pressing in as realization sank like a stone. I'd cared for Dad when he was dying, spent my savings on Avery's dreams, and Lydia had turned it all to ash. My fingers curled into fists, nails biting my palms. She'd rewritten me as the sister who didn't care, the daughter who faded away. I shoved the phone down, its clatter loud in the stillness. The city woke outside, cars honking, a dog barking somewhere below. But inside, my mind raced. Every silence, every unanswered call hadn't been Avery's choice. It had been Lydia's. A quiet, insidious erasure spanning years. My throat tightened, nausea creeping up, but I swallowed it down. She thought I'd stay invisible. The fire from last night flared hotter, steady now. I wasn't just a victim anymore. I was a witness, and I had proof. The box sat open, its contents a weapon I'd wield when the time was right. Late morning sun sliced through the dust motes in my apartment, cutting sharp lines across the chaos of papers still strewn on the table. My hands were steady now, the tremble from last night burned away by purpose. I'd spent hours after dawn pulling every thread. Bank records, emails, a legal demand letter from an attorney I'd called at first light. The evidence sat stacked, a tower of truth Lydia couldn't dodge. I picked up my phone, its weight familiar but heavier with intent, and dialed her number. Each ring tightened the coil in my chest, anticipation sharpening my edges. She answered on the third ring, her voice smooth as polished glass. "Ella, this is a surprise." Lydia, 58, sounded smug, like she'd already rehearsed this victory in her head. I could picture her, pearls gleaming, tea in hand, basking in the Handover Club's glow. "I thought you'd want to clear things up," I said, my tone cool, edged with something she wouldn't catch yet. A pause lingered, her sipping her tea audible through the line, a sound that grated my nerves. "Clear things up?" she echoed, a faint laugh threading her words. "Fine, let's meet." I set the phone down, a slow breath escaping me. She's so smug. Perfect. Let her step into it. She thought I'd crawl back, broken, begging for a scrap of her approval. She didn't know I'd found the cracks in her throne, cracks I'd widen until it crumbled. I gathered the documents, sliding them into my purse with care. The trap was set, and Lydia, in all her arrogance, had just agreed to walk right in. I grabbed my coat, the door clicking shut behind me like a starting gun. The Handover Club smelled of wealth and whispers, crisp linens, soft clinks of china, a faint tang of champagne lingering in the air. I arrived first, choosing a table near the window, the city's pulse visible through the glass. My purse rested beside me, heavy with proof, my fingers tracing its strap as I waited. Lydia swept in minutes later, 58 and radiant in silk, her posture screaming victory. She slid into the seat across from me, effortless grace masking the predator beneath. "Ella," she said, her smile thin. "You look well." Her eyes flicked over me, expecting defeat, but I met them with a calm she didn't deserve. "So do you," I lied, letting her bask in it. For 5 minutes, I played along. Small talk about Avery's wedding, the weather, her polished life. Watching her relax, her guard slipping just enough. Then I reached into my purse, pulling out the first sheet of paper, the redirected payout stark in black ink. I slid it across the table, slow and deliberate. "You know," I said, voice quiet, "I never thought you'd cut me out completely." Her brow lifted, a sip of tea pausing midair, but she didn't look down yet. "You cut yourself out, darling," she replied, smooth as ever. "Always so difficult." I smiled, sharp and small. Dramatic, you mean? Her lips parted, but I didn't wait. I slid the legal demand letter next, its weight heavier than the first. She glanced down then, and the color drained from her face, subtle but there. Her earrings flashed as she stiffened, fingers curling slightly around her cup. "This was mine," I said, low and firm. "Dad wanted me to have it. You stole it." The air tightened, hers to choke on now. She set the tea down, her hand trembling just enough to betray her. "I did what I had to," she snapped, voice thinning. "Your father left a mess. Expenses, obligations." "No," I cut in, leaning forward, "You did what you wanted. For you." Her lips pressed tight, arrogance flickering like a dying bulb. I watched her calculate, her jaw tensing as she scanned the letter, dates, amounts, legal threats she couldn't spin away. "You never thought I'd find out, did you?" I added, my tone steady, slicing through her silence. She didn't answer, but I saw it. The fear, rare and raw, seeping into her eyes. Not of me, but of losing control. The one thing she'd built her life around. "I'm not here to argue, Mother," I said, watching her flinch at the word. "I'm here to give you a choice." She scoffed, the mask snapping back, but it was flimsy now. "A choice?" she mocked, voice clipped. "Yes," I replied, smooth as steel. "Fix what you broke, or I will." I let it hang, heavy between us, her fingers twitching against the table. She knew I wasn't bluffing. The documents weren't just paper. They were a loaded gun, aimed at her pristine world. Her social circle, her reputation, Avery's blind loyalty, all of it could burn with one move from me. "Fine," she said at last, her voice thin, brittle. "What do you want?" I tilted my head, holding her gaze. She's not untouchable. Not now. The room felt smaller, the clinks of china fading as her empire teetered. I didn't answer yet, letting her squirm, letting her feel what it was like to be at someone else's mercy. She'd spent years crafting lies, thinking I'd stay silent, but I'd just turned her game against her, and for the first time, Lydia Hughes wasn't winning. I leaned back, a quiet thrill pulsing through me. Now, we were getting somewhere. 3 days after the handover club, dusk settled over my apartment, shadows pooling in the corners. Rain tapped the windows, a soft rhythm against the quiet I'd grown used to. The papers still sat on my table, though neater now, their edges worn from my hands. I'd sent copies to Avery that morning, financial statements, the redirected payout, proof of Lydia's theft, attached to a simple note. "You should know." I hadn't expected a response, not so soon, but the buzzer jolted me upright. Her voice crackled, through, tight and urgent. "Ella, it's me. Let me in." I opened the door, and Avery, 28, stormed past, her designer coat dripping onto my floor. Her eyes blazed, clutching the printed evidence I'd mailed, her knuckles white around the pages. "Tell me it's not true," she demanded, her voice unsteady, breaking on the last word. I didn't move, didn't speak, just pointed to the table where the originals lay. She dropped the papers, her hands shaking as she scanned them again. Tuition payments I'd made, rerouted insurance money, all funneled through Lydia's hands. The air smelled of rain and regret, thick between us. "She always said you walked away," Avery whispered, her gaze darting to me, searching. "That you didn't care, that you were too busy for us." Her words hung, heavy with a lifetime of lies she'd swallowed. I stepped closer, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. "She lied, Avery. She made sure I was nothing to you." Her breath hitched, and she sank onto the couch, the papers crumpling under her grip. "I can't believe this," she said, quieter now, the fire in her eyes dimming to something raw, wounded. I sat beside her, the cushion dipping under my weight. "She took everything, Dad's money, my voice, our connection, and gave you her version instead." Avery's head snapped up, realization settling like a stone. "The wedding," she murmured. "She told me you didn't want to come." I nodded, the memory of that night stinging fresh. She erased me, but I've got the proof now. Her hands tightened, the papers rustling as she stared at them. Then, slowly, she met my eyes, her voice firm despite the tremble. I see that now. I believe you. The room stilled, the rain's patter softening outside. She's unshackled too. We're not her pawns anymore. For the first time in years, Avery looked at me. Not as Lydia's shadow, not as the sister who'd disappeared, but as Ella, 32, real, and here. I exhaled, a weight lifting I hadn't known I carried. "What happens next?" she asked, her tone tentative, but strong. I leaned back, a faint smile tugging my lips. "You ask her. See what she says when the mask's off." Avery nodded, resolve hardening her features, and I knew Lydia's perfect daughter was gone. I didn't need to see it to know how it played out. 3 days after Avery's visit, Lydia's world began to crack, piece by quiet piece. I pictured her at her favorite cafe, alone now, her coffee cold in its cup, her poise a hollow shell. She'd fought returning the money, stalled with excuses, pleaded through lawyers, even offered me hush money to keep her secrets buried. But I'd refused, and by the end of the week, the $50,000 hit my account, every cent she'd stolen from Dad's insurance. The victory tasted bitter, not sweet, because it wasn't just about the dollars. Avery stopped answering her calls, the first domino to fall. I heard it from a text she sent me late one night. Confronted her. She denied it, then cried. "I'm done." The wedding guests whispered next, rumors of Lydia's deceit slipping through their polished circles, sidelong glances replacing the admiration she'd craved. The Handover Club, her sanctuary of status, suddenly lost her reservation, a polite excuse masking their disdain. Her throne, built on lies and stolen money, crumbled under its own weight, and I hadn't lifted a finger to push it. I stood at my window, the city sprawling below, its lights flickering like stars I could finally reach. She crafted this ruin. I just lit the match. Lydia, 58, had spent decades sculpting her image. Perfect mother, flawless widow. But it was glass, fragile and fake. Now, with Avery gone, her social empire shrank to nothing. The silence screamed louder than any applause she'd lost. She'd erased me to keep it all, but in the end, she'd erased herself. I turned away, the night air cool against the glass, my reflection steady. It wasn't triumph I felt, not really. It was relief, sharp and clean, cutting through years of her voice in my head. "You're not enough, Ella." She'd made me believe it, but no more. I didn't need to ruin her. She'd done that herself, and that was justice enough. My purse sat on the table, lighter now without the documents, but heavier with possibility. Lydia was nothing, not because I'd destroyed her, but because she'd built nothing real. I was free of her, and that was all I'd ever wanted. Weeks later, I stood in my new apartment, the scent of fresh paint mingling with the crisp fall air slipping through an open window. Boxes lined the walls, half unpacked, a testament to a life I was building on my own terms. The $50,000 sat in my account now, not a trophy, but a tool. Enough to leave the cramped place I'd outgrown, to quit the draining hospital job that had chained me for years. I'd taken a position at a private clinic, one where my nursing mattered, where I wasn't just a shadow in a white coat. My hands traced the edge of a plane ticket on the counter, a trip to Seattle planned for next month, just because I could. The city hummed outside, a steady pulse I'd learned to match. I'd spent so long living for others, Dad's illness, Avery's dreams, Lydia's lies, that I'd forgotten what choice felt like. Now, it was mine, every step, every breath. I grabbed my coat, the fabric soft against my skin, and stepped into the street. Fall painted Chicago in burnt oranges and golds, the air sharp with coffee and leaves crunching underfoot. I walked without hurry, my scarf lifting in the breeze, my steps light for the first time in years. Then I saw her, Lydia, 58, sat outside a cafe, alone at a small table, her cream sweater pristine but her face hollowed by something I couldn't name. Her cup rested untouched, steam long gone, her fingers still around it. Our eyes met, a fleeting collision across the sidewalk. For a moment, I wondered what she'd do. Stand, speak, apologize, or glare with that old venom. But she didn't. She lifted her cup, gave a thin, empty smile, and looked away, back to the nothing she'd become. The woman who'd once filled every room now faded into the crowd, a stranger in her own story. I didn't stop, didn't linger. My heels clicked on, steady and sure, the breeze dancing through my hair. I don't need her eyes on me. I've got my own. She'd spent years trying to erase me, but I'd outgrown her shadow, built something she couldn't touch. Avery had texted me that morning. Coffee soon? A thread we were stitching back, slow and real. Lydia had lost her too, and that was her undoing, not mine. I turned the corner, the cafe slipping from view, and felt the weight lift completely. This was my life now, not hers to define. I paused at a crosswalk, the city alive around me, cars honking, a vendor shouting, laughter spilling from a nearby shop. My reflection caught in a window, and I recognized her. Ella Hughes, 32, not the afterthought, not the ghost, but me. I smiled, small but true, and kept walking. The past was done, and I wasn't looking back. Back in my apartment, I sat by the window, the night settling over Chicago like a blanket. The skyline glittered, a map of lights I'd learned to navigate. I traced the edge of my coffee mug, its warmth seeping into my hands, and let my mind wander. Betrayal slips in quiet sometimes, doesn't it? Not always loud, not always obvious, but insidious, threading through the cracks of what you trust. Lydia's had been like that, slow, deliberate, a rewrite of my story I hadn't seen until it was too late. She'd taken my money, my sister, my place, betting I'd stay silent, but I didn't. I fought, not with screams or fists, but with proof, with choice. I could have burned her world down, emails to her circle, lawyers at her door, but I didn't need to. She'd done that herself, unraveling the moment Avery saw her for what she was. I leaned back, the chair creaking softly, and exhaled. The best revenge isn't destruction, I'd learned. It's living a life they can't touch, building something real when they've got nothing left. I'd found that, step by step, in the quiet moments, booking that trip, laughing without guilt, seeing myself clear. Healing isn't sudden, though. It's not a switch you flip. It's in the small things. The way I unpacked a box without her voice in my head. The way I said yes to Avery without hesitation. It's in the mirror, where I finally know the woman staring back. I sipped my coffee, the bitterness softened by cream, and thought about you, out there, reading this. Betrayals hit you too, maybe. Someone who rewrote you, who pushed you out. So what did you do? What would you do? I set the mug down, the city's hum, a steady companion. You choose. Fight or climb. Tear it down or build better. I climbed, and I'm still here, stronger for it. Tell me below, in the comments, what's your move? I want to hear your story, because mine's just one. The next one's yours. I'm Victoria Williams, 21, and right now I'm staring at my parents across the dining room table, their faces a messed-up cocktail of guilt and smugness. Mom's got that look, the one she wears when she's about to sell you something shady, like a timeshare in a swamp. Dad's hands are steepled, all business, like he's closing a deal. The air's thick, humming with the kind of silence that screams trouble. We need to talk, Mom says, her voice sharp, clipped, like she's rehearsing a line. I brace myself. Here it comes. We've made a decision, she continues, glancing at Dad for backup. Your college fund, it's going to Emily, for Yale. My stomach drops, a cold, hard thud. That's $80,000. Every birthday check I stuffed in a jar, every sweaty summer gig at the hardware store, every penny I scraped together since I was 6. Gone. Funneled to my cousin Emily Parker, the family's golden girl. It's for the family, Dad adds, his tone flat, final. A Yale grad changes everything. The unspoken part hangs there, bitter as burnt coffee. I don't. My brain scrambles, flashes of the past flickering like a busted reel. Me at 10, grinning, showing Mom a robot I'd rigged from spare parts, wires dangling, lights blinking. Just toys, she'd sighed, turning back to her dishes. Then Emily, 2 months older, strutting home with debate medals, her trophies gleaming on Aunt Linda's shelf like some shrine. We were born close, but we've been pitted against each other since the womb, unwitting gladiators in a game I never signed up for. I can still hear Uncle Tom bragging at Thanksgiving, Emily's a natural leader. Meanwhile, I'm in the corner, rewiring a busted lamp, invisible. Wait, I manage, voice tight. That's my money. Mom's eyes soften, but it's fake, a practiced pity. Honey, we're investing in the future. Ours, yours, everyone's. Right. Everyone's future, but mine. I want to scream, to flip the table, but I just sit there, fists clenched, nails biting into my palms. The room smells of her lavender candle, cloying, fake as her excuse. Emily's face floats up. Perfect grades, perfect smile. Of course it's her. The sun rises, the tides turn, and Emily gets the prize. That's just how it works. And me? I'm the spare part they don't know what to do with. Growing up, success wasn't optional. It was the air we breathed, the pulse in our veins. Every grade was a trophy, every milestone a notch on some invisible scoreboard. Emily Parker was the star, the comet streaking across our sky. Straight A's, debate champ, a research paper published at 16 for God's sake. She was the family's pride, the one they'd point to at reunions, whispering, "That's our Emily." Me? I was the oddball, the shadow trailing her glow. Solid grades, sure, but not dazzling. Robotics team leader, yeah, but that didn't shine like debate medals in their eyes. I lived for weekends in Grandma Ruth's garage, the one place I could breathe. It was a mess of rusted tools and tangled wires, smelling of oil and possibility. I'd gut old PCs, strip them to their bones, and build something new, something mine. Mom hated it. "Messin' around," she'd mutter, brushing past with a load of laundry. Dad would peek in, frown, and say nothing. They saw Emily's podium speeches and clapped. They saw my circuit boards and shrugged. But Grandma Ruth? She'd sit there, perched on a stool, her gray hair pulled back, watching me work. "Different minds run on different tracks," she'd say, her voice warm, steady, like she knew something they didn't. We were a family of comparisons, Emily and me the test subjects. Her report cards got framed, mine got a nod. Her debate wins got cake. My robotics trophies got a nice job, Vicky. It wasn't jealousy, not really. It was exhaustion, trying to measure up to a yardstick that kept growing, one I'd never reach. Grandma's garage was my rebellion, my sanctuary. She'd hand me a screwdriver, her hands knotted with age, and grin. "Keep tinkering, kiddo." Mom called it a waste. Dad called it a hobby. Only Grandma called it what it was, me. That night, Mom's still at it, her voice syrupy, condescending. "Emily's got real potential," she says, leaning across the table like she's letting me in on a secret. "She could be a lawyer, a senator, someone big. You're good with tech, but that's just practical." Practical? The word lands like a slap, stinging worse than I expect. Dad nods, jumping in with his pragmatic bullshit. "State school's cheaper, Vicky. Loans, a part-time job, you'll figure it out. Emily needs this now." I feel my voice crack, a hairline fracture. "And I don't need the money?" It's not a question, not really, just a shard of hurt I can't hold back. The room goes still, the hum of the fridge the only sound. They don't answer. Mom looks away, fussing with her napkin. Dad stares at his hands. The silence says it all. Emily's the investment. I'm the write-off. I want to yell, to demand why, but my throat's tight. Words stuck like gravel. Later, my phone buzzes. Emily's text lights up the screen. OMG, Vicky, thank you so much. I promise I'll make it worth it. I stare at it, the glow burning my eyes. What am I supposed to say? Congrats on being worth more than me? Thanks for taking my future? I toss the phone on the bed, let it sit there unanswered. The ceiling stares back, cracked and peeling, mocking me. They've made their choice. Emily's the dream, I'm the backup. Fine, let them have their Yale princess. I'll figure out my own damn path. Next morning, I'm at Grandma Ruth's, the one place that doesn't feel like a battlefield. Her kitchen smells of chamomile tea, sharp and soothing, steam curling from the mug she sets in front of me. I spill it all, the fund, Emily, Mom's practical jab, Dad's lone lecture. Her garage looms beyond the door, a jumble of junk and dreams, calling me like always. She listens, stone-faced, her eyes sharp behind those old glasses. No pity, no lectures, just quiet. When I'm done, she stands, slow but steady, and shuffles to a shelf. She pulls out a thick envelope, yellowed at the edges, and slides it across the table. Open this when I'm gone, she says, her voice low, a chuckle tucked in it. Not before. I blink, caught off guard. Grandma, what? You're not going anywhere. She pats my cheek, her hand cool, rough. Everyone heads out someday, kiddo. Trick is preparing for the road. I laugh, shaky, trying to shake off the weirdness. She's 78, sure, but she's Grandma, tough as the rusted bolts in her garage. She's not leaving, not yet. The envelope sits heavy in my hands, a secret I don't want to think about. You're being dramatic, I say, smirking. She grins back, that twinkle in her eye I've always loved. Maybe. Keep it anyway. We sit there, sipping tea, the hum of her old fridge filling the silence. Outside, the garage waits. My mess, my peace. Whatever's coming, I've got this one anchor. For now, that's enough. Months smear together like wet paint, a dull blur of Emily's Yale hype swallowing everything. The family's obsessed. Every dinner, every call, it's Emily's dorm, Emily's scholarship, Emily's future. Her send-off party's a circus, catered trays of shrimp and mini quiches, flashbulbs popping like she's some celebrity. I'm there, forced into a scratchy dress, watching Aunt Linda beam while Uncle Tom claps Dad on the back. Big win for us all, he says. Sure, if us means everyone but me. My college fund's ghost lingers, a silent thief in the room. I ditched state school weeks ago. It's a pipe dream without that cash. Now it's community college night classes, intro to circuits at 7 p.m., while I slog through days at a tech repair shop, fixing cracked screens for minimum wage. Mom catches me by the punch bowl, her smile tight. See, Vicky? This fits your level. Her words drip, a backhanded jab wrapped in sugar. Fits my level, like I'm some discount model, not worth the premium plan. I nod, bite my tongue, taste copper. She thinks I'm fine, that this is my lane. Maybe she's right, maybe I'm not Yale material. But it stings, a slow burn under my ribs. Later, I slip out to Grandma Ruth's garage, my refuge. It's quiet, just the hum of a flickering bulb and the tang of metal in the air. I crack open an old server, salvaged from a dumpster, my hands moving on autopilot, screwdriver twisting, wires spilling out. This, I get. This makes sense. Dad finds me there, his shadow cutting across the workbench. You should be inside celebrating, he says, voice stern. This is a family victory. I look up, circuit board in hand, dust on my fingers. It's Emily's victory, Dad. Your call, not mine. My voice is flat, steady, but inside I'm shaking. He opens his mouth, then closes it, turning away. The party's laughter drifts in, mocking me. I stay put. The server's guts are my only company. This is my level, right? Fine, I'll make it work, for now. The party's still buzzing when it happens. A shriek cuts through the chatter, not the drunk, happy kind, but real, jagged panic. I drop the screwdriver, sprint inside, Dad right behind me. Grandma Ruth slumped in her recliner, her face slack, one hand limp over the armrest. Aunt Linda's screaming, "Call 911!" While Mom fumbles her phone, tears streaking her mascara. I freeze, staring. Her chamomile tea spilled, a dark stain pooling on the rug. Uncle Tom's yelling orders nobody follows. The room spins, a chaos of voices and flashing lights as paramedics swarm in. "Stroke," one says, voice clipped. "Massive." They work fast, but it's too late. She's gone before the sirens fade, her breath snuffed out like a candle. The funeral's a haze, heavy with lilies and flickering candles, the air thick with grief and wax. I stand there, numb, in a black dress that itches, watching the family play their parts. Aunt Linda wails, theatrical, clutching Uncle Tom. Mom's quiet, dabbing her eyes, while Dad stares at the casket, jaw tight. Emily jets back from Yale, all red-eyed and loud about her $300 ticket and missed midterms. "I had to come," she says, like it's a favor. I don't respond, just clutch that envelope Grandma gave me, its weight a lifeline in my pocket. Her voice loops in my head. "Prepare for the road ahead." I didn't get it then. Now it's all I've got left. After, we scatter her ashes in the backyard, per her wishes. No fancy urn, just earth and wind. The garage looms nearby, silent, empty without her stool creaking under her weight. I can still see her there, watching me tinker, that twinkle in her eye. She knew something, didn't she? Something big. I grip the envelope tighter, its edges digging into my palm. Whatever's inside, it's her last word to me. I'm not ready to hear it. Not yet. 2 days later, we're crammed in Mr. Carter's office, Grandma's lawyer since forever. It's a stuffy room, all leather chairs and stale coffee, the family restless, Mom picking at her nails, Dad tapping his foot, Uncle Tom whispering to Aunt Linda about charity donations, Emily's texting under the table, probably some Yale drama. Me? I'm still, the envelope burning a hole in my bag. Mr. Carter clears his throat, adjusts his tie. "Ruth left specific instructions," he says, calm, like he's done this 100 times. "We'll start with a video she recorded 6 months ago." A video? My heart skips. He fires up a laptop, and there she is. Grandma Ruth fills the screen, sitting in her garage among the junk I love. Her voice cuts through, clear, commanding, not the soft, simple tone we knew. "I've got some things to tell you," she starts, eyes piercing the camera. "I was Dr. Ruth Ellison, lead engineer, later CTO at a semiconductor giant. I built the microchip foundations that sparked Silicon Valley." The room explodes. Uncle Tom faints, slumping out of his chair, Aunt Linda gasping, fanning him with a folder. Mom's hand flies to her mouth, a choked sob escaping. Emily's phone clatters to the floor, her face white. Dad's pale, gripping the table. Me? I'm a statue, breath caught, brain reeling. Grandma, a tech pioneer? Not the quiet widow we thought. "I came here in '79, she continues, steady, not fleeing anything but on a classified tech transfer. My patents made millions, $47 million to be exact. I kept it quiet, lived simple, watched you all grow." Her gaze sharpens, and I swear she's looking at me. "I saw you push Victoria aside for Emily, Mark, and Ellen, not for talent, but your small-minded success meter. Emily's grades impressed you, but Victoria, I saw her mind in my garage, solving problems I'd have struggled with." Mom makes a small, strangled sound. Emily's head snaps up, eyes wide. My chest tightens, tears blurring the screen. "She rebuilt my machines. Grandma says, leaning forward. Those weren't junk. They were tests, engineering puzzles I designed. She cracked them. No training, just grit and instinct. I remember those afternoons, her watching, quiet, while I cursed at circuits. She wasn't just there. She was judging me, seeing me. You bet on the wrong horse, she tells my parents, voice firm. And I'm fixing that. The screen holds her face a moment longer, fierce, proud. Then it fades. The room's a war zone, but I'm still, tears hot on my cheeks. She saw me. All this time, she saw me. The will reading ends, and the office turns into a circus, a tangle of shouts and tears. Emily's on me first, her voice high, desperate. Vicky, we can share, right? I mean, it's family. Her mascara's smeared, her Yale polish cracking. I just stare, words stuck somewhere between pity and nope. Uncle Tom's recovered from his faint, puffing up like he's still got a say. As the eldest male, I should manage this, for your sake, Vicky, he insists, while Aunt Linda nods, chirping about family responsibility. Mom and Dad sit there, dazed, muttering to each other, something about all those years and never knew. The air's thick with greed and shock, a stew I want no part of. Mr. Carter steps in, cool as ice, shutting it down. Ruth foresaw this, he says, tapping the papers. Any contesting, any meddling, it's voided. Her instructions are ironclad. Uncle Tom deflates, Aunt Linda huffs, and Emily slumps, sniffling. I don't say a thing. Just grab my bag, the envelope still inside, and head out. That night, I'm back in Grandma Ruth's garage, my garage now. The bulb flickers, casting shadows over the workbench. I pry open the filing cabinet's secret drawer, heart pounding. Notebooks spill out. Decades of her handwriting, circuit designs, algorithms, innovations she hid from the world. My fingers tremble, tracing the pages. She wasn't just a tinkerer. She was a genius. Then I find it. A letter, tucked between the tech. My dearest Vicky, it starts, her voice leaping off the page. By now you know who I was. I'm sorry for the lie, but I needed to see you shine without my shadow. Your brain's like mine, seeing patterns, solving the unsolvable. The night they took your fund, I nearly spilled it all, but money's not the fix. You needed to find your strength, prove what I already saw. My throat tightens, eyes stinging. P.S., she adds. Check the server. I glance at it, that busted heap in the corner, and smile. She's still testing me, even now. 6 months later, I'm at Stanford, computer engineering. My name on a dorm door I never dreamed I'd see. Grandma's letter of recommendation, penned by Dr. Ruth Ellison, CTO legend, landed me here. No loans, no scraping. Her patents hit the market, licensing deals pouring in. Enough to fund a scholarship for misfits like me. Kids who don't fit the shiny mold. I'm in a lab now, surrounded by circuits and code, my hands steady, my mind racing. It's not just school, it's a mission. Emily's still at Yale, quieter these days, scraping by with her trust's GPA clause. She texts sometimes, awkward apologies I don't answer. She'll be fine, humbler, maybe, but fine. Mom and Dad are thawing, slow as a winter melt. Dad shows up one weekend, peering at my latest bot, a sleek thing with sensors I rigged myself. Pretty cool, he says, hesitant, like he's testing new words. Mom stopped pushing law school, her silence a shaky peace offering. They're grappling with it. Their screw-up, Grandma's secret, the whole mess. I don't forgive easy, but I let them in, inch by inch. The real wins the server, though. I cracked it open that first night, found a quantum computing blueprint. Grandma's last gift. A revolution she'd tinkered with in secret. I published it, credited her, and the tech world lost its mind. Companies, big ones, fight to license it, offers stacking up like bricks. I'm overseeing it all. 21 and calling shots, making sure her vision lands right. Sometimes I catch myself grinning, alone in the lab, wires in hand. This is me, Vicky Williams, the practical kid, steering a future Grandma saw before anyone else. Her words from the video stick, "You've got grit." Damn right I do. The scholarship's my thank you, a way to pass it on. And the server? It's not just tech, it's proof. She bet on me, and I'm proving her right. One line of code at a time. I'm back in the garage, my garage, on a quiet Saturday, circuits humming under my fingers. The air's sharp with solder and dust, same as always, but it's different now. Mine. The filing cabinet's open, notebooks stacked beside me, Grandma's genius a constant companion. I'm deep in a project, tweaking a processor, when a shadow falls across the bench. A kid, maybe 10, peers in, all messy hair and wide eyes, clutching a busted Game Boy. "What are you doing?" she asks, curious, a spark in her voice I know too well. I look up, grin. "Want to see how tech thinks?" Her face lights up, a nod so eager it's almost a bounce. I wave her in, pull out an old circuit board. "Sit. Let me tell you about my grandma." She plops on a stool, Grandma's stool, and I start, voice soft, steady. She was a builder, like me, loved this stuff, wires, chips, the works, taught me everything. I show her the board, point out the parts, watch her lean in, questions bubbling up. "What's that do?" "Why is it green?" She's quirky, offbeat, like I was, still am. I hand her a screwdriver, let her poke at it, her fingers clumsy, but sure. "Keep going," I say. "You'll figure it out." She reminds me of those days, me and Grandma, the hours slipping by as I tore apart junk and made it sing. Now it's my turn. The sun dips low, light slanting through the dusty window, and I hear her voice, Grandma's, clear as ever. "Some take the road, others carve it. I carved mine, hard and messy. But here I am, Stanford, quantum tech, a legacy I'm growing. This kid's the next step, maybe. I'll keep the garage open, let the weird ones in, the ones who don't fit. Grandma, bet on me. I'll bet on them." "You're good at this," I tell her as she twists a wire, grinning. She shrugs, shy, but I see it. The same spark Grandma saw in me. That's enough for now. More than enough.